Okay, we are working on level 3 triangle video notes. Make sure this paper is in front of you so you're ready to go. We're talking about arithmetic sequences and the nth term formula. So remember, arithmetic means using addition and subtraction. The nth term formula is going to be a little bit new. We did a little bit of this in level 2. So the nth term formula is basically a variation of our original y equals mx plus b, or f of x equals mx plus b. We change the slope to this letter d for common difference. We use a different variable, so instead of x we're going to use n, like the nth term. And for b, we're now going to use the 0 term. So, for our first step, we are going to determine the common difference. And remember, we use the letter D for that. The second thing we're going to do is we're going to find the 0 term. And we use a sub 0 for that. In order to find the 0 term, we need to make a table. The next step, we're going to take those two pieces, take letter D and a sub 0, so the common difference and the 0 term, to create the nth term formula. We're going to evaluate by plugging in the n value, which will make sense in just a minute, and then we're finished. So for example 1, says write a formula for the nth term of the arithmetic sequence, and it gives us an arithmetic sequence. So from -3 to 3, let's find the common difference. That's our first job. I want to make sure all 3 of these have the same. So from -3 to 3, I am adding 6. From 3 to 9, adding 6, and from 9 to 15, adding 6. So that means our common difference is 6. The next thing we need to find is that 0 term. So we're going to make a table. You should have learned this in level 1, maybe level 2. We're going to number our terms. So 1, 2, 3, 4. If we want a 0 term, it's going to be before that. So while I've been adding 6 every time, I'm going to go back and subtract 6 to find that 0 term. So -3 minus 6 is going to give me a -9. If you don't know how to add or subtract these numbers in your head, that is a-okay. Use your calculator. So we have a sub 0 is -9. So what we're going to do is we're going to take these two values and we're going to put them into this equation. So the first thing we have to write is f of n equals, our d value is 6 times n. We're going to add our a sub 0. Our a sub 0 is a -9, so I'm just going to subtract 9. Now it says to find the value of the sequence when n equals 110. We're simply going to take n, and every time we see n, we're going to plug in 110. So f of 110 equals 6 times 110 minus 9. This is where your calculator comes in handy. So if you don't know how to do these things in your head or on paper, like I said, that's a-okay. 6 times 110 minus 9 gives me 651. And that's it. That's a problem. Finished. Let's look at number 2. Write the formula for the nth term of this new arithmetic sequence. So on this one, I could tell pretty quickly that it was plus 6. On this one, I can tell we're going down, but if you need help figuring out that common difference, take the second number, so 26, minus that first number, 37, and you get -11. So every time we go over, we're subtracting 11. If I want to try the second one, 15 minus 26, -11. 4 minus 15, negative 11. So I know my common difference is negative 11. To make my zero term, or to find it, we're going to make the table. If I'm looking for the zero term, I got to go back one. So if I've been subtracting 11, I'm going to go back and I'm going to add 11. So 37 plus 11 is going to give me 48. So my a sub 0 is 48. If you need to pause and write all this down, you can do that. For the formula, I'm going to plug in what I know. So I start with f of n equals, the d comes first, so negative 11 times letter n, and then we have a plus 48. So I'm looking for when n equals 40. I'm going to plug in 40 wherever I see n. So f of 40 equals negative 11 times 40 plus 48. So I'm going to go over to my calculator. Negative 11 times 40 plus 48. This one I get a negative 392. So if we look at our common difference, we know that we're subtracting every time. So at this point, we're pretty close to 0. If we got another one, our next term would be in the negatives. So I think it makes sense for us to have a really big negative number here. The third one says, write a formula for the nth term of the sequence when they give us a sub 1, so this is the first term, and they give us the common difference, which is negative 1.7. So I'm going to make a table. We've already got our common difference. It's written for us. I'm going to make a table and see if I can figure out the zero term, because I don't need the first term, I need the zero term. So I've got 0, 1, 2, I'll stop there. My first term is 4. If I were to go this way, I would need to subtract 1.7. That's my common difference. If I were to go backwards, I need to do the opposite. So I need to add 1.7, just like I've been doing. So I'm going to take 4 plus 1.7. Remember, use your calculator. My zero term is going to be 5.7. So now we had the common difference was negative 1.7. Our zero term we now know is 5.7. So I've got f of n equals, the d value comes first, so negative 1.7 n plus 5.7. Okay, this last part of this question is just the same. We plug in 62 every time we see n. So f of 62 is negative 1.7 times 62 plus 5.7. So use your trusty calculator, try it out yourself maybe, and then check with my answer. We get equals negative 99.7. Awesome. So our very last question is a little different. It has a graph now. So before I either had a sequence of numbers or they gave me the pieces I needed. Now we have a graph. So in order to find the common difference, I'm going to need some numbers to work with, right? So I'm going to start getting the points off of this graph. So I'm just going to make a table right here. X on top, Y on the bottom. We've got negative 1, negative 3. We've got 0, 0. I've got 1, positive 3. And I've got 2, positive 6. All I did was take these points and make a table. Now I'm looking for my common difference and my zero term. So my common difference, I'm going to see what's changing from one to the next. So I added 3, I added 3, I added 3. So my common difference is 3. Now for my 0 term, do I already have a 0 term? Looking at this table, this 0 right here, that's my 0 term. This was my first term, this was my second term, this is the negative 1th term. This is my 0 term, so I'm going to start at a sub 0 equals 0. So my nth term formula, f of n equals 3n plus 0. So that can just be 3n. And if you remember up at the top, we said that our y-intercept was a sub 0. So if we look down here at our graph, our y-intercept is 0, 0, which is our a sub 0. So that works out perfect. Now I'm going to plug it in to find my value. So find the value of the sequence when n equals negative 23. I've got 3 times, now you need to use your parentheses here, negative 23. And then that's it, because we had plus 0. So 3 times negative 23. And we are finished. You're going to flip over to the back, and you're going to have some problems to do on the back. There is a bit of a brain teaser at the bottom. So when you finish this brain teaser, you can go ask your teacher and see what they got. Good luck!